the Fluke 174 True RMS multimeter. Stay tuned. So Fluke needs no introduction. If you're in the electronics field for any length of time, however short that may be, you've heard of the word Fluke. They've been around forever. They are considered to be one of the best, if not the best, in terms of electronics instrumentation, and as well as safety, durability, and ruggedness. And with that preamble, the Fluke 174 is filling very big footsteps, because when you purchase a Fluke, you automatically assume that A, this device will work without question, and B, safety protection, input protection, it's all going to be there. So we'll find out if that's all true in today's video. First thing that you'll notice is the box itself. The Fluke 174 True RMS multimeter. 0.9% accuracy, measures up to 100 kilohertz. And has a 6,000 count display. Now on the box itself, you will see, in this case, it is the standard TL75 leads. Now in some of the advertising I've seen, and actually quite a lot of it, they're showing the twist guard safety leads, and those are very nice leads. In fact, when I had purchased this, not via Fluke actually, via a seller on eBay, it was a new purchase. And I was led to believe it had the twist guard leads as well, but no, it does not. It it ships with your standard TL75s. Now, there's nothing bad to say about these. I mean, they've been around forever. They're very safe. Just for me, they're a little bit boring, especially if you're doing hobby electronics on the bench. It's always nice to take things up a notch and have the very best that you can have. But in this case, you know, I've got no complaints. I've only got about 40 pairs of these now, make it 41. Anyway, what else do you get in the box? Well, you get these two alligator clips, and these are always handy. They just go right on the ends of the Fluke leads. You just stick them in like so, and right away it turns your standard test lead into a crocodile clip. So that's really nice, handy, and great. The other thing you get is this ridiculous little piece of nothing, another advertisement, and it's for the Fluke Hanger. Now, when I first saw this, I actually thought, because it was late at night, I opened the box, I thought, oh my god, great, I'm getting a magnetic hanger with this Fluke. Yeah, no. Fluke wants you to go out and buy that extra. So, 40 or 50 bucks if you want the bloody hanger. So, I don't know, they're going to take the time to put this in the box. Do us a favor, put the hanger in the box. Cut out the middleman, right? That being said, what did I pay for this baby? Well, it cost $185 Canadian. So we're looking at around $145, $150 US. Hey, that's great price for a Fluke product. And the other nice thing about this Fluke is, and I have verified it, it is fabricated and made in the United States. So it's not a product out of Asia, as some of the newer Flukes are. This is actually made and assembled in the United States of America. So, good show, Fluke. In terms of specifications, well, I just turned the box around and everything is here in black and white. I will point out a couple of, let's just call it, well, specifications. First of all, the capacitance range only goes up to 10 millifarad or 10,000 microfarad. You know, that's okay, but there's a lot of new multimeters out there now that are doing upwards of 100 millifarad. So yeah, 100,000 microfarad. So, you know, hey, I do a lot of capacitance stuff on and off the bench, so I use this feature a lot, and I really like it when my meters have a huge capacitance range. You know, 10 millifarad is not bad. It's a lot better than a lot of meters out there. But that being said, you know, it's okay. I'm just going to call it maybe slightly above average. The other not so great specification is the fact that here I will actually bring the meter up and we will turn it on. It does have an auto shut off that shuts off approximately 10-15 minutes after you turn it on. Now if you look at the display, yeah, there's a lot of unused real estate. That's because the Fluke 174 is actually related to the FC3000 series. Yes, the wireless series. And that is why we have so much extra real estate on the screen, because we're missing all of the wireless modules. So normally when you hook up an FC wireless, if you're familiar with that platform, you can connect 2-3 devices. So on the display itself, not only do you have your local display, but you have the display of the wireless devices that are also connected. And they need screen real estate for that. Now, because they've done away with all of the wireless modules here, there is no Bluetooth on this meter. It is strictly a localized handheld meter. You're left with a lot of empty space on the screen. So I think it kind of looks a little funny. It kind of looks like a little Fluke ghost town. But, you know, I'm not into Westerns per se, but I mean, it's okay. I would have liked to have seen larger digits because the real estate is so empty here. But of course they couldn't go in and modify all that, and they'd have to change the IC, and it would just be like a huge disaster. $150 US for a Fluke works for me. The other interesting feature is you've got the high voltage light. It turns on as soon as you turn on the device, as you saw. And if you get to voltage, I believe it's anything over 30 volts, the hazard light will come on. So it's a nifty little feature, especially if you're newer to electronics and you're measuring voltages that you're not familiar with. It's always nice to know when you're in the hazard zone. Something else about the display itself, Fluke claims that the update frequency is approximately 4 times per second. So that's pretty decent. And once again, it is a 6,000 count display. One thing that is seriously missing, as you know, is there is no bar graph. So yeah, too bad with all of this extra real estate here that they could not have put a bar graph. That would have been, you know, a great feature. Here obviously is your battery indicator as well. But that being said, it's a pretty basic meter. It measures AC and DC current from 60 milliamps up to 400 milliamps. But once again, you are relegated to milliamps. It does not do amps. So buyer beware. Once again, if you're going to use this for hobby purposes on the bench for electronics, no issues there. And what else have we got? We got diode testing. Does 2 volts. So it should be able to light up most of those LEDs. And for resistance, once again, it's you know, in the blasé zone. It does up to a whopping 50 mega ohms. Now you can get cheap $7 Chinese meters that do easily 100 mega ohms for resistance. So once again, a little disappointed Fluke in that respect. Would have been nice once again to see at least 100 mega ohms in the resistance department. Voltage AC/DC from 600 millivolts up to 1,000 volts. So yeah, and being Fluke, you know that if you hit a transient or there's a spike or God forbid whatever, you're going to be safe. So we will take it apart and see just how safe it looks. What we're going to do next is take a look at the inside. Not the inside, but just where they keep the batteries, the battery housing itself. Now, one thing I'll mention here, and I didn't mention actually, is it has that interesting standing bail attached to the battery housing. You know, the bail itself, the stand, very nice, very solid, and it's not going anywhere. You know, I like it. But if you have to change the batteries, and I'll just show you how simple that is. Your standard little Fluke, go down to the unlock icon, and oops, I'm in the locking mode, sorry. There we go, and it just sort of pops open. And as you can see, the whole assembly comes off. So the tilt stand as well as everything else. Now it takes three 1.5 AA batteries, which I kind of like. I'm not a big fan of 9 volts, but and as well the housing, as you can see, they've got a seal over the battery housing. Now, in terms of the specifications, it is certified as IP54. So it's not waterproof, but this is definitely going to help keep the dust and sand out and what have you. So it's really nice to see. And a little rubberized just to hold down on the batteries themselves so they're not flopping around. But as you've noticed, yeah, no fuse access. So if you are out on the field and you blow your fuse, you're going to have to fiddle with, are you ready for this? 2, 4, 6. 6 Phillips screws have to come apart in order to change that fuse. So yeah, how come there's no fuse access? Anyway, something else that's a little unusual with this Fluke is the actual rubber holster is integrated into the actual body or chassis of the meter itself. So it's one piece, one module, all integrated. There is. Okay, so next we will look at the capacitance range. We won't bother with the resistance because it's really nothing uber duper. But being a capacitance connoisseur, I'm a little curious to see if this 174 is actually capable of meeting its spec rating of 10 millifarad. So, without further ado, let's see. And I will turn the backlight back on. Once again, this is a 10,000 microfarad capacitor. Whoopsie daisy. Okay, so here we go. Now, right away I can see something, and what is it? Wow, that was pretty fast. 9,500, oh, 9,800. So pretty well spot on. Good job, Fluke. Now, there was not any sort of indicator in terms of the actual discharge or charging of the capacitor, but it was fairly fast. So in this case, really, I guess it's not necessary. It's always nice to see, though, when there is some sort of capacitance activity taking place. A lot of meters will either have an arrow pointing down or another one pointing up, indicating a charge or discharge. That I like. However, the Fluke 174 does not have this feature, but it was capable of reading 10,000 microfarad capacitor, so it meets its spec. Good job, Fluke. Okay, so next we're going to do a quick voltage comparison, just to see how it is in terms of accuracy with a couple of other multimeters thrown in for good measure. On the right we have the Proba 903, a 60,000 count multimeter. And on the far left we have the Enning Q1, which I'll be reviewing shortly. And this is a 9,999, I just like to call it 10,000 count multimeter. So we're starting at 2.7 volts with the DC power supply, and we'll start taking it up. And there you go. According to the power supply, we're at 6.5 volts, showing 6.6, 6.59 on the Fluke, and 6.59 on the Proba 903. Taking it up and away in my beautiful electronics balloon. That was pretty lame. Okay, 15.3 showing on the DC power supply, 15.4 on the Q1, 15.38 on the 174, and 15.4 on the Proba 903. Up and away, there we go, showing at 22.2. 22.22. Geez, I should make a wish. On the Q1, 22.22 on the Fluke 174, 22.248 with the higher resolution 903. Up further, up to 27.8 volts, according to the power supply. 27.94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. Okay, 27.98 for the Q1, 27.97 for the 174, and 28 even for the 903. Now maxing it out, just under 32 volts, 31.8 showing on the DC power supply, 31.86 on the Q1, 31.85 for the Fluke 174 with the high voltage indicator now in full alert, and 31.899 for the Prova 903. So good job, Fluke. So well in spec and accuracy, no issues here. And once again, it's kind of a nice feature when you go over the 30 volt mark. Here we'll just bring it under, and now we're 29, just under over 29 volts. The hazard light goes off, and as soon as you reach 30 volts, kaboom. So especially if you're new to electronics or you're busy fumbling around, it's always good to have a visual indicator letting you know where you stand in terms of voltage. One thing I wanted to mention is, now that we have all these multimeters lined up together, is the fact that the Fluke 174 is not a small meter. Sitting beside the Prova 903, or standing beside rather, you can see it's quite on par. The Prova is slightly bigger, slightly wider, maybe half an inch taller, but nonetheless, the 174 is a big meter compared to the Q1, for instance, which dwarfs in comparison. So just buyer beware. Yeah, the Fluke 174, if it's on your bench, it's definitely not a problem. But if you do take it on site, be prepared. It is a fairly hefty thing. Something else worth mentioning, the fact is that the boot on the 174 is attached. You cannot remove it. It is physically part of the meter itself, unlike a lot of the other Fluke meters where the holster does come off. In this case, it does not. Now, in terms of tactile use, it feels great. I love the heft. Perhaps it looks a little awkward in my mind for some reason. I'm not the sexiest meter out there, that's for sure. But, you know, it feels good, solid, and the boot itself has a really nice kind of a grippy feel to it, so it shouldn't be coming out of your hands that easily, even in the rain. So, good stuff. Now, in terms of the selector switch itself, I find it actually a little on the mushy side. A little surprising for a Fluke, but it's okay. You know, I'm not ecstatic about the tactile usability of this selector switch. You know, it's okay. It's not the greatest. I think Fluke could have perhaps done a slightly better job. But in terms of the wear and tear, being a Fluke, I don't foresee any problems in the near future, or future at all for that matter. Flukes are extremely reliable meters. Yeah, on a usability scale, the selector switch, in terms of my own personal preference, it's just a little too spongy, a little too soft for my liking. I'd probably give it about a 6 out of 10. Once again, this meter is based on the FC3000 series of wireless multimeters. And because those meters had lots of connectivity, you would have multiple devices attached, so you had a lot of extra real estate. That real estate is not being utilized at all. So, you know, when I first saw this meter, I was kind of aghast at the sheer, let's call it the way it looks. It just, you know, everything's in the top right corner, and it's a little unusual when you first get a look at it. It's like, what the heck? But because it was cloned from the FC3000 series, obviously not a lot that they could do without, you know, remanufacturing the entire process, and that just wouldn't have made any sense. So yeah, just so you know, when you do get this meter, you're gonna have a lot of empty space here, and get used to it. In terms of the LEDs themselves, they're a little chunky, a little bold. Not the best that I've seen. They're okay, and I prefer it with the backlight on. When you take the backlight off, there's quite a lot of glare. Yeah, you be the judge. I mean, everybody has their own personal preference or taste in terms of what they like in terms of the liquid crystal displays. This is probably not my favorite by any means, but it's still readable, even if it is a little small, a little bold, chunky for my liking. At the bottom left here is the low battery indicator. In this case, it's a fully charged battery, but visually that's always going to be on the screen. You have your typical range and your hold. So in terms of the hold feature itself, it's your typical hold. It's not the the nice touch holes that some of the Flukes have. And once you get that, you're kind of spoiled. Hyokis have it as well. Certainly nothing exclusive to Fluke, but it's found on a lot of Fluke meters. And in this case, it's just your standard atypical hold. So if I want it to hold, I'll have to press down on the hold button. So yeah, kind of lame. Nothing fancy about that, is there? Now something else I've noticed, and I don't know if this is just some buggy firmware or what have you, but if you look at that. Do you see that? It's a 9-volt battery, nowhere near 30 volts, and for some reason it comes on every now and then. And I discovered this, and I have no idea. I've written Fluke, I haven't gotten a response back yet. But yeah, that high voltage indicator, for some reason, comes on. So, yeah. Interesting. When I hear back from Fluke, I will let you know what that's all about. Okay, so I've unscrewed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 screws. That was painful. And you know, I don't know why. Can make it a little bit easier, but anyway. Let's see how this baby comes off. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Okay. So, ba-boom, ba-ding, and holy crap. Look at that. I mean, there's like no shielding. Jesus. Why, Fluke? Come on. We're supposed to be setting industry standards. No shielding? For real? Oh, I'm so confused. Anyway, disappointing. Okay, now let's see what we got here. I will perhaps turn it. Alright, so starting from the bottom, you can see we have a Busman Hrc Fuse. And it's rated for 440 milliamps, 1000 volts. Cooper Busman Inc., St. Louis, Missouri, made in Mexico. Keep the fuse out and we'll see our inputs right here. They are screwed in with some lock washers and they are nicely soldered into the plastic holders. They're definitely not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Here we have a big 2.5 watt resistor made in Mexico. And I was told that this was made in the United States, but I guess it's made in the United States with international parts. I'm looking at the, sorry, bear with me a second here. It's showing me a Fluke 3000-3001 Rev 008. So there you go. As you can see, this is definitely a Fluke 3000. So the 174 is actually FC 3000. And I mean, it was quite obvious, but no surprises there. Now, once again, this has none of the Bluetooth capability, wireless functionality that the F3000 does. It'd be interesting to compare the two side by side. Unfortunately, I don't have an FC3000, but okay, so in terms of input protection, as we move up a little bit here, we've got stability problems. Bear with me, I am sorry. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 mods over here. We have a single solitary PTC Another huge input resistor here. Cap. I'm not even sure what that is. Possibly a... I'm not even going to guess on this one. A lot of transistors. So, I mean, in terms of basic input protection, it's there. Once again, this doesn't do current, but you do have your MOVs, your high input resistor, PTC, huge 2.5 watt resistor, a nice Hrc fuse, sorry. A lot of empty space here. Wow. It's like the Mojave Desert. Look at that, eh? Just nothing going on here. Now, is that because that this is not the, well, because it's an FC3000 clone, so none of this wireless circuitry has been implemented. It's just a bare schematic. Be really interesting, like I said, if I had a 3000 to compare the two. But yeah, that's a huge empty spot here. Wow, I don't see that too often. The main IC, version 1.0042406446, doesn't tell me a whole lot. This is the connector for the LCD display. And look at that, we have some slightly off camera. Just move it over here. It says Cal, so it's a calibration mechanism. And 1, 2, 3, lots and lots of tiny surface mount components. We have here what looks to be another connector on top, J7. I'm not sure what functionality that is being utilized as. Lots of diodes here on the top as well. More transistors. So anyway, there you go. The inside of the Fluke 174, aka the FC3000. So just one thing I wanted to point it out here. It's quite verbose on the box in black and white, or shall I say black and yellow. It is assembled in the United States of US and foreign components. And as we saw, there was quite a few components that came from Mexico. But yeah, it is made in the US. This one is dated as April 2016. Final thoughts on the Fluke 174 True RMS multimeter. It's a mixed bag. It's well made. It's a solid device. If you drop it on the floor, what have you, no worries. It's a Fluke. It's going to bounce back. It'll serve you for a long time. It's reasonably priced, $99 US. Some people were getting this for. Once again, I paid about $155, $65. It was about 6 months ago that I purchased this, but anyway, it wasn't a lot of money. That was Canadian dollars. So generally speaking, yeah, you're getting a lot of bang for the buck in this department. The selector switch itself, I'm not a big fan of. It's a little mushy for my liking. I prefer something with a little more authority when I'm changing ranges. The meter itself has a nice overall feel to it. The built-in boot is a nice tactile feel, and it's definitely exudes a sense of a well-made electronics instrument. It's a mixed bag for me because honestly, I don't know what Fluke was looking at in terms of the demographic when they fabricated this meter. It doesn't really seem to be pointing in any general direction. I'm assuming because we looked at the PCB and it said FC3000 on the PCB that they had just rolled out so many of these FC3000 components that they had to do something with them. So somebody in sales or in engineering said, hey, let's create a new meter, call it the 174. And was it a good idea? Well, you be the judge. It's a mixed bag. Would I recommend it to somebody? Probably not. Once again, there's nothing outstanding in terms of the ranges. Nothing really holds my fancy. I'd much rather have a Fluke 117 beside me. But, it is what it is. So in terms of the overall reliability, there is an ongoing issue of how this meter when you're checking, you know, low voltage and the high voltage light comes on, as was displayed when I was looking at that 9-volt battery earlier on. And that leaves me a little bit, slightly some intrepidation in respect of, you know, it's not Fluke-like in terms of reliability. I'm still waiting to hear back from Fluke as to what that's all about. Maybe it just requires a firmware update. But in terms of the overall rating, I'm going to give the Fluke 174 3 out of 5 stars. I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank all my new subscribers and all my existing subscribers. Thanks a lot. I know I haven't come out with a whole lot of videos this summer. It's been a very busy summer, but rest assured I have got a ton of meters to review, some really nifty ones I haven't seen anywhere else. So stay tuned, should be a lot of fun. And one thing I do want to point out is that all the meters that you see me reviewing, they're all come out of my own pocket. I have no sponsorship, and so there's no bias in terms of the actual reviews themselves. I pay for everything, all the devices, and yeah, it's completely ad-free. So when something comes out of my mouth in terms of recommendation, it's truly because I think that this product is a quality product, and if I say something negative, then I truly think that it's not worth your time or money. Once again, everybody, thanks for watching, and most of all, keep on testing.